our journey to the human experience. This show where we look at what it takes to achieve the impossible, to do things that go far beyond our preconceived limits, and find success in any endeavor, whether that be mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and of course financial. The people I bring on this show, they're doing just that. They're doing amazing things, pushing their boundaries, finding success. So here we are, we're going to look at what is the formula for that success. What does it take for all of us to replicate it? And I'm talking to you from Singapore today after having just completed a successful 33-mile crossing from the east coast to the west coast of Singapore. This is in line with my latest and my greatest mission yet, to cross every single country in the world on foot. I've skied across Greenland, 350 miles. I just ran across Singapore, 33 miles. 2 down, a whole lot more to go. And in line with this mission, I got the perfect guest for you today. Her name is Nicola. She is the mission mentor. I'm going to let her tell you all about what that means and what she does and how she too can help you accomplish your own impossible missions. It doesn't have to be crossing every single country in the world. It can be whatever you want it to be, and she's the exact person to do that. That's why it's such a good fit. Having just announced this great mission of my own, she was the right person to bring on. She was the person that I know will fit exactly in line with this mission, so she can tell you how all of us can do the same thing, how we can accomplish our impossible missions. So without further ado, here she is. Hi, Nicola. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your time. It's a real pleasure speaking with you.
You're welcome. It's great to finally catch up with you too. Such a busy man.
Yeah, I know. Traveling around, running around the world, which is why actually this was perfect, because I just announced my mission to run around every country in the world, and that's exactly what you do. So tell us a little bit, speaking of which, you're called the Mission Mentor. So what does that mean? Can you tell a little bit about what that means and what you do?
Sure. I'm a visionary strategist, and what I do is I use my intuitive visionary abilities to create strategies for people who are on missions to create a difference in the world. And I got that title through one of the big missions that was part of my purpose to fulfill when I stepped up to help the New Zealand natural health industry and save them from legislation that was going to put them under. There was a corporation that was going to be formed, funded primarily by the pharmaceutical industry, and the way it was structured, it was going to end up regulating the natural health industry out of existence. And so for 7 years, that industry tried to beat back that legislation and failed, but with my mission strategy, we succeeded in 6 months to defeat the legislation. I made history, and the industry gave me an award. Now, throughout that whole time, people were saying, this is your mission, you're the one, you're the Neo, or what, so to speak. And I discovered that everybody's got that within them. Everybody has something really specific, a very specific mission to perform, especially if they're alive at this time on the planet, because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of areas of our world that needs to, need some infusion of mission mojo so that we can actually create a better place for everybody to live in.
Yeah.
So kind of, that was my whole journey to discovering, well, I'm all about missions, I'm on a mission, and I help other people with their mission, hence the mission mentor.
Got it. Now, I heard you say the words mission mojo. What does that mean?
Mission mojo is something I've discovered in my own personal journey, that it's that place where we connect deep within us at the, what would you call that, the quantum field. And that's the energy of life, the energy of the Creator that moves through us for a very specific purpose. We tap into that energy or that mojo when we're very specifically fulfilling what it is that we came here to do. So when I was doing my mission, it was extraordinary, the results I created, but I don't create extraordinary results in every area of my life. Usually only the areas that I very specifically was incarnated to do and fulfill within my higher purpose. And I'm seeing that with a lot of my clients and audience members, and I'm seeing this mojo, like even in historical figures, they have mojo in this one area very specifically because that's what they incarnated to be good at and be phenomenal at, but not necessarily in every area of their life. So mission mojo is very specifically the power that we have within us to tap into the universal creative energy to create extraordinary results for the very purpose that we incarnated for.
Got it. So I'm curious. I mean, that's amazing. I like the way you put that. But, I'm in my line of work, and I'm sure you've seen it with your clients as well. People sometimes struggle with figuring out what is their passion, why they've been put on here, if you will. So How does one figure that out to really tap into that power?
And it's a really great question, and I think a lot of the questions that we ask ourselves actually field us away from finding the answers. And like, so people will say, well, what am I passionate about? And
Yeah.
some people are really in touch with that because they've got a good connection with themselves and with their energy field. But most people I meet don't have that connection.
Yeah.
Or they'll ask the question, what is my purpose? And those are the kind of questions that divert you from finding the answers. The question you really need to be asking is, why are you here? What is it that you are here to do? How are you to express yourself? Because the name of the game for human beings here in this incarnation is all about expression. I'm here to expand, to fulfill my soul's purpose of expansion, because I am going to be expressing myself as a human being. No, sorry, not because, that I am expressing myself as a human being.
Yeah.
What is the best way for me to express myself? And so I've discovered that there's like a myriad of what I call soul primary expression modalities. These are methods of expressing yourself that your soul has determined will give you the greatest happiness, fulfillment, joy. It'll automatically tap you into the passion. So you don't have to ask all of those other questions. You just need to focus on finding out what are those soul primary expression modalities. So for example, mine are to write, to speak, to teach, to travel, solve world problems, and to vision. When I synergize all of those together, I've got a direction to go in to monetize my business, and I'm also beginning to tap into my mojo. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So essentially what you do is you help people find those modalities, whatever it may be for them.
Exactly, that's part of what I do. And once we've found them, we have to look at how are we going to synergize them and then monetize it, because monetization is a really important key, and a lot of people get that part wrong.
Yeah, so how does one? I mean, how does one monetize, like for example, I'm running across the world, right?
Yeah.
And people have different missions, like you have yours, you said, and you have these modalities to express it. Now, just to actually to step back for a second to clarify that, so you have your mission, and the modality is a form to express that mission, right? Is that got
Yeah.
it? Okay. So how does one monetize both those, whatever your mission may be, and the modality to express it?
Yeah, you actually kind of hinted on it there. You need to know what your mission is.
Got
Like,
it.
it's like if we imagine that there's a wheel and there's all these different spokes, we've got to
Yeah.
find out what the spokes are. Like, as you mentioned, the mission, the message. For me, it's really important to find the message because that's going to help determine who your niche is. So we have this wheel with all of the different spokes.
Uh-huh.
And we also need to do some research. I'm really big on researching at the moment because as we're going through this transition and this shift in our economy and new economies are being born, we've really got to get up with the program of what's coming up and what's happening so we don't end up monetizing and becoming a dinosaur, right? We need to know what those changes are. So we've put it all together, and then I have a formula that I help people work out, and I think that we've got a gift for people listening that they can go and they can get their hands on that formula, and then we just massage it and we put it together. But what I find is that for many people, when you find your mission, your message, and your soul primary expression modalities, it actually starts getting very clear the pathway for monetization. Now, you asked the question, how do I monetize running across Singapore?
Yeah.
Well, did you ever watch the Where the Hell is Matt series? Matt did that funny little dance all around the world, and eventually got sponsorship, and now he has Visa, and who take that on board. You know, there's a myriad of ways today because of Google, because of social media, that we can monetize. And it's just a matter of making sure you're leading with your soul primary expression modalities, fulfilling your mission, and then monetizing it from that perspective.
Got it. Yeah, so actually, I have a question. I'm curious about that. So sometimes when we get on our mission, how do we? And then maybe let's say we experience failure, and often sometimes, or not often, sometimes people switch directions, and maybe they discover that's their mission. How do we know that maybe we're on the right path, or am I? Obviously, I think obstacles are natural part of life, and no matter what mission you're on, you're inevitably going to face challenges. But how do you know when those challenges are just part of the journey, or if they're a sign that you should venture off? You're on a different mission. You get what I mean?
Look, I do. Look,
Yeah.
that is such a really great question, and it's just there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I think At first, you really need to know that what those soul primary expression modalities are, because as long as you're expressing yourself that way to a certain extent, you are you are on purpose and you are on track.
Yeah.
But within our overall mission are mission milestones, and what those mission milestones are usually is something that we step up to. So we've got to be stepping up. So if you're not stepping up, then I can tell you right now you're off track, because we're here to expand. So if if you're unhappy and you're not stepping up, then you're definitely off track.
Yeah.
So it comes down to the emotions rather than what's happening, because as you accurately said, you're going to meet challenges and obstacles, and just because you do that, I know in the spiritual world particularly, there is this myth out there that everything is supposed to flow and be easy and be graceful, just like nature. But nature can have these volatile moments. It's challenging. But, for certain aspects of nature to be able to survive, they have to go through what we call the law of resistance in order to gain strength to be able to continue to survive.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important not only to know what your soul's primary expression modalities are, but to have that all-important connection with your higher self or your soul, so you know how to go into that vortex, ask the questions, and ask the right questions and get the right answers. For me, I look at my results. What am I doing? Am I getting a result from it? Do I need to change direction, or do I need to tweak the path that I'm on? And then I watch for the signs and I listen really closely to my feeling tones to give me the nudge as to which way to go. Because things do get a little bit easier when we are totally aligned to our soul's purpose and our mission. And we're in that total alignment. There's this thing in play where things do sort of happen more magically, and really, really amazing opportunities come your way.
Yeah.
But it's very subtle, the difference. It's very, very subtle, the difference.
And I get that, and that's actually, I heard you say when you listen to your feeling tones, and that's one thing I'm curious about too, because I notice in today's world, we're often so distracted from ourselves in many ways, through television, social, and don't get me wrong, I love the internet, social media, obviously that's what we do, but in some senses it separates us from ourselves, right? We're always on technology, we're doing something, we're bombarded with information. And I heard you say that you listen to your feeling tone. So how does one really start noticing what's coming up in the self? What that message is coming through them? What are some strategies to really reconnect with the self?
Yeah, what the first thing you need to do is learn how to be inwardly reflective. And a technique that I like to teach at the very beginning of my heart-soul connection process is learn and discipline yourself to be able to sit still and focus on keeping the body still. Because so many people, especially when they begin to meditate or self-reflect, they try to still the mind. The mind is just bombarded with lots of thoughts and ideas, and it's very, very difficult to still the mind at first. But when you still the body, especially if you're able to go to the beach or sit in nature, sit in the grass somewhere, or sit next to a plant inside, if you live in a concrete jungle city, somewhere where there is some, that oxygen carbon dioxide equation going on, and tune into that stillness, and then keep your body still. What happens is that over time, your mind naturally quietens down. You still the body, your mind begins to be quiet, and you begin to come into that peace. And then inward reflect, which is to turn your eyes inward and look in and keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into your mind. Practice that, because that's where the quietness is, and it's where the answers are. When you start getting all of these ideas coming into your head, a lot of that can be programming. A lot of it can also be radio waves that you're picking up because of all of the technology. Some people can attribute all of those voices to guides. That's it's a very controversial topic. And then you got to be careful not to. It's got that quieten out all of that noise on the outer and go deep, deep, deep within, where it's still, it's quiet, it's peaceful, and there's a breath that just happens within you naturally that you can tune into, and that's where you start feeling your spirit and your soul in you, and that's where you can connect to the right answers.
Oh, I love that. I love the way you you kind of break meditation into an easy way to access it, because that's something I think a lot of people challenge with. I know I sometimes do myself. So
Yeah.
it's a really cool way to simplify the process and ease into it. And Jack Canfield, speaking of it, Jack Canfield, the best-selling author, he actually talks about how meditation is the secret to success for him. So it's a great strategy that I think will help a lot. Awesome.
Yeah, I would say that meditation is probably the secret to my success as well. I always have those moments of quietness, and I notice that when I don't have those moments, things can get a little bit hair and scare. We are going to have to correct along the way, and that goes back to that other question of, well, how do you know if you're on track?
Yeah.
If you need to change direction, or this is just part of your purpose.
Yeah.
Go within, listen within.
Got it. Yeah, I love that. And one thing, coming back to that idea of monetization, we were talking about kind of finding your right niche, finding the right group to work with. How do you do that? I mean, how do you know what the best niche to serve is? Often we feel like in our work that we can help everybody, especially in the personal development world. It has this idea that I can help everybody. In some senses, maybe everybody can benefit. So how do we really focus in, niche down, and find out who is that right audience for us?
Well, again, another great question. Let me talk a little bit about how I discovered it. I was putting a process together for my Right Mission, Right Money program of how to find your mission blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, look, I'm really big on walking my talk, and because I had found my mission blueprint, so I'm a visionary and an intuitive. I kind of found it in an intuitive, visionary way, and put all the clues together. So when you're working it out for somebody else to do that, I created this process. And I had to go through it myself to just make sure that process was going to work.
Yeah.
Now, up until that moment, I thought that I was always here to be an educator and to be in the spiritual, personal development realm, and which is what I've been doing for 20 years. But when I did my mission blueprint, and all of a sudden I went, oh, actually, I can see that my niche market are people who solve world problems, because that showed up when I did the formula to find out what my self-primary expression modalities were. And I'm going, well, who is solving world problems? Now, immediately we would think non-government organisations and politicians, and I would go, well, no, not necessarily, because I don't know what problems they've solved. I know a lot that they've created. So I go through the self-inquiry process. Who is solving the problems of the world? Right? People who are out there making a difference, social entrepreneurs, change makers, coaches, personal development seminar leaders, mums and dads, people who are raising their families and raising their children to be great. These are the people who are solving the world problems. Or people who have ideas, but they don't necessarily know how to monetize them. They're still solving the world's problems through quantum activism, because they're putting their mind and their attention to something, and they're solving it within their own mind. That does have an effect. So that way I started to narrow down my niche of people who want to make a difference and want to change the world in some way. Who are those people? And now I've got to go do the research. Got it? So we find out a little bit more information about your soul, primary expression modalities, and your mission, and then what is your message, and then we start asking questions. Well, who's doing that? What's happening in the world today? There's a lot of people, like they say to me, well, how do I do the research? And I said, well, they forget Google. I said, just Google it. And they go, oh, as if it's this great epiphany. Oh, my goodness, that's great. We kind of forget the simple things. Google it. When I first started being the mission mentor, nobody was talking about missions except for within Christianity, right? Yeah. And when I started talking about being a change maker, there wasn't, changemaker.org didn't exist. But when I started doing research, and I do research about every 2 or 3 months to find out what's going on, I saw this niche of change makers, and then these people called social entrepreneurs. People who go into business specifically to change something in the world, but for profit and not for profit. So this is growing, and this is the new economy. This is the economy that's driving us into a more heart-centered economy. So that's where we're going to start looking for where is your niche, because niches do shift because humanity shifts. And how what's going on in that niche. And if you're an early starter, then you're a pioneer. And we've got a little bit more work to do on the monetization aspect.
Got it. Now, you mentioned earlier, speaking of kind of that niche and when your audience, you mentioned working with this industry in New Zealand. Can you tell us a little bit about more of that, and can you save an industry from ruin? That's amazing. So how does one replicate those kind of results, and how did that kind of pan out for you?
Oh man, great question. It was like it, I got introduced to the industry, the industry body that were, as I said, had been fighting the legislation to stop it from going through. It had passed 2 of 3 readings, and it was amalgamating Australia and New Zealand's regulators into a corporation. And in my books, when you have corporations regulating, you open the door for fascism and you open the door for corruption. So that just wasn't a goer. But it had passed in Australia, and it was about to pass in New Zealand. How I got to offer the mission strategy was just as a business owner and entrepreneur, and I've been doing visionary strategies for business owners for about 7 years up until that moment.
Yeah.
And my naturopath introduced me to the industry body and says, "Oh, you should go and have a chat to them," because I had this vision and I had this idea. And here I am, like talking to all these people that earned more money than me, had a big business than me.
Yeah.
But I had the strategy because that was my mojo, that was my talent. And so, they supported me in that, and we rolled the strategy out. And as I said, it was really successful.
Yeah.
Then I worked with somebody who I met who was a strategist, had a company to do strategies for Fortune 500 companies. And he said, "Hey, you need to find out why you were successful when everybody else wasn't. What was the magic potion, so to speak?"
Yeah.
So with him, I worked out what did I do that was different, what was I doing just generally, and it came down to 7 habits that I did daily, 10 strategies that I implemented, and 12 laws of nature or laws of physics that I used to leverage my results. Now, a lot of it was unconscious because it's so ingrained in me and I'm used to working with laws of nature. I didn't even realize at the time that I was doing it. It was only on hindsight when we sort of like pieced together everything that I had done and why it had worked that we realized, oh my goodness, I'm synergizing the law of gravity, I'm synergizing the law of one, the law of duality, all of these laws that we have in physics that govern our physical universe, and we can use those to leverage to get outstanding results. So it came down to 7 habits, 10 strategies, and 12 laws of nature. And the biggest law of nature, I think, that was critical to the success was the law of purpose. I was fulfilling my purpose.
Got it. And if somebody wanted to find out more about these habits, these strategies, and laws of nature, is that something that they can find in the link that I'm going to post under this?
Yes, they can, because the link that you're going to post in is going to take them to my Mission Mojo webinar training, where you're going to learn the 3 biggest pitfalls on how to monetize your mission when you're out there wanting to make a difference. And that takes you through the 7 steps to find, follow, and accurately monetize your mission.
Cool. Okay.
You also get a free access to a membership for the year to my Strategy with Spirits training, which I do once a month. And that's where I'm revealing all of the 7 habits, the 10 strategies, and the 12 laws of nature. I do a training each month and also give you an overall orientation on what that is, what working with the laws of nature are when you first sign up. So
awesome, cool. Yeah, that's good stuff. I'm sure that's really exciting. So I know I love getting your content as well. So that's really great. And speaking about the results you produce for others, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your own story, because your story is amazing. I mean, you've recovered from cancer twice. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I mean, tell us a little bit about that story, like the personal journey you went through, and how that's actually shaped your business as well, and your whole life, I guess.
Well, I think that the first time with my late 20s, I had a blood disease, and I didn't know what it was at first, and then several years later, it turned out to be leukemia. And those were the days, and way back when, some getting up there in age, those were the days where chemotherapy and radiotherapy never killed cancer. It just prolonged your life a little bit. It's a bit different today. So that wasn't an option for me, and I'm into natural health anyway. So it kind of wasn't an option for me anyway. It was off the table. So I did soul searching. I did, there was a pivotal moment where I discovered within me that there was this will to live, because I hadn't achieved what I came here to do yet. And I really connected with the disappointment of having my life end before I'd really stepped up to achieve my mission and do what I was here to do. And later on that afternoon, after I had that moment, I had this quantum healing and quantum awakening where I was catapulted out of my body and into my mind, and I discovered that everything in form starts first at the level of consciousness. So if we want to change form, we can change the deck chairs around, and we can take pills and potions and lotions, and that all can contribute to healing. But ultimately, we need to shift that consciousness, and then we can shift and reorganize form. And that's what happened in the quantum healing that I had. I went, oh, I had this huge revelation, and it was a revelation. And from that, my cells reorganized, and then I worked with a doctor who was also a naturopath to get my immune system pumping, and I've been free and clear of leukemia ever since. But when I stepped up to save the natural health industry, I'd recently just been diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, which is the final stage of melanoma. So this is my second time with cancer, and I'm going, what did I miss the first time?
Yeah.
Like, I know that I have to shift it in consciousness. What did I miss? And what I missed was the misery that I was feeling for the pain and the suffering of the world had not been dealt with. I had tried to escape it by doing a lot of meditation and going into some, a spiritual arena and just hanging out there and feeling good and having all these lovely light experiences. It's not really transforming that deep pain for the suffering of the world that I had. And then I realized I had to become part of the solution rather than just, at that stage I had a business at a day spa, and I wasn't really doing what I wanted to be doing. And so, again, it came back to get on track with what you're supposed to be doing, but also becoming part of the solution. And ever since I stepped up as the mission mentor, that pain eases. I mean, I still feel like my heart just pounds, and my chest sort of just gets really sore whenever I see suffering in the world. But it's not as bad as it was. It doesn't make my energy go down, because I know I'm part of the solution and I'm helping others to become part of the solution.
Yeah. That's amazing. So it's almost just like the power of the mind and that spirit to heal yourself through. Wow. That's amazing.
Absolutely. The power of the mind, the spirit, and the purpose, because we all have a purpose for being here. And I discovered that our soul begins to remove the animation in the body, right? When it's not interested in the life, because it's not getting to fulfill its purpose. So that's why people end up being depressed or feeling lifeless or feeling apathetic, because the soul's beginning to withdraw. You want to bring the soul back in by saying, you know what, I'm going to step up. I'm going to step up. I'm going to do what I can to find out why I'm here, what I'm supposed to be doing, and how I'm supposed to be expressing myself, so that joie de vivre, that life force, can just come bouncing through.
Yeah. That's amazing. Wow, that is an incredible story. Very powerful. So what do you want? I mean, with all the story and your work, what's the message you can leave the audience with today? And after that too, after you kind of share the one message, what is one specific action that you recommend for them to take to advance their life, to drive their life forward, to live their purpose right after watching this interview?
Okay. So the actions at first. There's two actions you can take, actually. The first action is sign up for my free training while it's free, because it's not going to be free forever. I'm going to be turning it into a paid training and using that money to raise money for a Light Rwanda project that I'm working on to help women entrepreneurs in Rwanda. So that's the first thing. So the other action immediately is to cease asking the question, what's your purpose? Start doing that, stilling the body, quietening down, and do that self-inquiry of how have you come here to express yourself? What are those expression modalities that your soul has decided are going to give you the greatest joy? And then start listening to your feeling tones when you do things. When you're doing things and you go, oh, I don't enjoy this. When you do things, you go, oh, this is great, I'm enjoying this. So you have to get into action. You can't just sit on the couch and try and figure out in your head and then take the action. You have to be in action for the universe to come in and correct you. So that would be the action step that I would take. And the final thought that I'd like to I have lots of thoughts. So, like, which one do I pick? The final thought that I think, I know what it is. We're living in unprecedented times of change, and if you're not aware of what's going on, we're in a historical moment where we're shifting ages. we shift great ages, like, like in modern history, only 3 times. We've gone from the natural age to the agricultural age, from agriculture to industry, and from industry to information. Each time there's a great age shift, there is turmoil, and it's preceded with revolutions. The Industrial Revolution led into the Industrial Age. We've been through 5 revolutions: the electronic revolution, the digital revolution, the information revolution. We're going through a political revolution and also a financial revolution, and therefore a social revolution is not so far behind us. So that's a lot of revolution. That's a lot of reversing of things and shifting and change. So what I want to leave you with, very specifically at this time, as a great age of information is coming into play, to do something very specific to make that transition peaceful, right? That transition does not have to be as tumultuous as it is now and as tumultuous as it was in the industrial age, because there's more heart and there's more consciousness on the planet right now. We can make that transition peaceful. And the way we do that is just by playing our individual part and stepping up to our mission blueprint. What's the blueprint for your life that is going to help you not only have your personal benefits of fulfillment, satisfaction, and financial security, but also the greater benefit of feeling that your life has meaning and that you're making a difference and that you're shifting and changing the world and creating a better world in some small way or some big way. Find out what that mission blueprint is, because that's how we will make this transition peaceful.
I love it. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful message. Thank you so much for being on the show, Nicola, and just for sharing your wisdom. It's truly life transformational, so it's been really amazing speaking with you, and I'm sure everybody listening got a lot from it as well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great. So hopefully you'll join me in the training and learn more and learn more about your soul's primary expression modalities and how to tap into your mojo.
Definitely. Yeah, I look forward to it as well. I'm going to be a part of it as well, so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure everybody will get as much value from it as I will.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Nicola, I look forward to staying in touch. I'll connect with you again soon.
Great. Thanks, Akshay. It's been great.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. I hope you got as much from that interview as I did. I highly recommend you sign up for Nicola's free training. I myself have signed up for it. I can't wait to go through it. I'm sure you're going to get immense value from it. It's really, really good stuff. It'll help you clarify that life purpose. What are you on this earth for? As I always say, and you've heard me say, as Joseph Campbell actually said, not just my words, that life has no meaning. Each of us has meaning, and we bring it to life. So figure out what is that meaning you bring to your life, and Nicola's training will help you do that. So I highly recommend you sign up for it. I'm going to be right there with you. I look forward to seeing you there. In the next post, I'm going to show you all about my crossing of Singapore, how I suffered through, but how I kept pushing. And that's what this training will help you do as well. How you will suffer through. You will experience obstacles no matter what your mission. I know you're aiming high, reaching for the stars, and that's a beautiful thing. But because of that, you will get stuff that comes in the way. And to be able to keep pushing through that, this training will help you do that. So check it out. I look forward to seeing you here next time. And I can't wait to hear all about your amazing missions, your impossible missions, and how you too are going to make them happen. Until I see you again, remember, life is your playground. Go play it with joy and passion.